When we picture retirement, there's this almost, universal cinematic commercial we play in our heads.
Oh, totally. It's a very specific fantasy.
Right. Like right now you are working, you're stressed, you're saving every spare penny.
Mm.
But then you cross this arbitrary finish line at age 65.
And suddenly you have endless time.
Exactly. Endless time, a healthy bank account, and the ultimate freedom to just, do everything you've ever put off.
Mm.
We sort of treat freedom like an equation where we just need to solve for time and money.
Yeah, we view it as the ultimate deferred gratification. The baseline assumption for most people is that freedom is simply the absence of our current professional and financial obligations.
Well, today, we are going to completely dismantle that commercial. For this deep dive, we're looking at a really fascinating Substack post from June 17, 2026.
Right, the one by Roberta Hill.
Yeah, titled The Freedom I'm Afraid of Losing. She's a 74-year-old traveler who writes a newsletter called Wander After 70.
It's such a great read.
It really is. And our mission today is to explore how our relationship with freedom, constraints, and travel fundamentally shifts as we age. Because whether you, listening to this right now, are 25, 45, or, stepping into your 70s, you're likely making assumptions today that could quietly shrink your future world.
And Roberta's perspective is just grounded in absolute pragmatism. She isn't selling a glossy travel fantasy.
No, not at all.
And she certainly isn't complaining about getting older either. She's really offering a masterclass in realistic long-term life planning. She analyzes how we miscalculate what will actually hold us back in the future.
Yeah, and the hook here, the real secret to aging gracefully, might have absolutely nothing to do with fighting wrinkles. It has everything to do with how you view a medium-sized suitcase.
I love that visual. It's so accurate.
Right. So let's look at the mechanics of this. Roberta starts by pointing out a massive shift in how we experience constraints over a lifetime. Like when you're younger, constraints are highly quantifiable.
Very much so. You can put them on a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the price of airfare, the number of vacation days you have left, the monthly mortgage payment, the logistics of raising kids.
Because those are entirely external constraints. And since we spend decades meticulously tracking our 401k balances and paid time off, our brains become heavily wired to view freedom strictly as a math problem.
Wait, a math problem?
Yeah, we naturally assume that once those specific external barriers are removed, well, the equation is solved, and we'll be perfectly free.
But Roberta points out that as you age, the reality of the situation forces a pretty profound pivot.
It really does.
She talks about how, 20 years ago, she and her friends would sit around discussing budgeting and finding the time to get away. But today, the conversation isn't about affordability at all.
No, the shift is from affordability to ability.
Ability, right.
The primary question is no longer, can we pay for this trip? It becomes, can we still comfortably execute this trip? It's a subtle redefining of your borders, from external financial limits to internal biological limits.
And she details just how quietly that transition happens. It's hearing a friend cancel a long-awaited trip because of a sudden health issue that popped up the week before.
Or realizing someone's knees simply cannot tolerate uneven European cobblestones anymore.
Oh, the cobblestones are brutal. Or noting that a long-haul flight that used to take, like, a few hours to shake off in your 40s now requires literal days of physiological recovery.
Yeah, it's a quiet, gradual narrowing of options.
Which is incredibly disorienting, I'd imagine.
It is. When the math problem of retirement is finally solved, but an entirely unquantifiable biological problem replaces it, people feel blindsided.
Sure.
Roberta even notes that friends passing away or acquaintances suddenly disappearing from the Christmas e-card list just becomes an accepted routine part of reaching her chapter of life.
Okay, but wait, I have to ask. Isn't it inherently a bit morbid to spend your retirement bracing for what you can't do?
It sounds like it might be.
Yeah, like watching your friends list shrink and focusing so heavily on the narrowing of options. It feels like it could easily drag you into a very dark defensive headspace, rather than just purely enjoying the things you can still do.
It sounds morbid on the surface, definitely, but looking closely at the psychology of her argument, she's actually doing the exact opposite.
Really? How so?
Well, she's identifying the precise root of her fear so she can manage it rationally. She explicitly states that she doesn't spend a great deal of time worrying about death itself.
Interesting.
Right? The true psychological fear, the core of her entire philosophy, is losing access to the experiences that make her feel most alive. She explains that travel, for her, has nothing to do with checking boxes on a map.
Or collecting passport stamps to impress people.
Exactly. It's a mechanism for preserving curiosity.
Yeah, she describes arriving somewhere completely unfamiliar, wandering a neighborhood with no set destination, finding an overlooked museum, a random piece of street art.
Or a small cafe you'd never find in a guidebook.
Right, so the fear isn't losing the act of travel.
No, it's losing the capacity to engage with the world in that highly unstructured, deeply curious way. It is the feel of losing participation in life.
Wow, participation in life, that's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah, when people say travel while you can, they aren't talking about beating an imaginary deadline to take a selfie at the Eiffel Tower. They're talking about maintaining the physical independence required to keep saying yes to spontaneous opportunities.
And identifying that fear clearly gives you a specific, tangible target to defend against.
Precisely.
So, if the gradual loss of options is the enemy, how we actively fight back is where the source material gets intensely practical.
Very practical.
Think about your own definition of freedom right now. Roberta strips away all the philosophical fluff. She argues that freedom isn't unlimited wealth or a total lack of responsibility.
No, her definition is incredibly grounded.
Yeah, she says freedom is being able to walk through a crowded airport unassisted.
Freedom is having the biomechanics to manage a medium-sized suitcase without injuring your shoulder.
Yes.
It's having enough cardiovascular stamina to explore a new city all day and actually still enjoy dinner afterward, rather than collapsing in your hotel room in pain.
It's climbing the staircase to a scenic viewpoint, or navigating a complex underground metro system without having to mathematically calculate the distance to the nearest park bench every 15 minutes.
Exactly. These are fundamental abilities that sound so incredibly ordinary until the exact moment you lose them.
Which brings us to the mechanics of how she protects those abilities. She attends weekly strength classes.
And she meticulously does the exercises her physiotherapist recommends.
Yeah, and she's very candid about this process. She admits she recently stopped doing Tai Chi. Yeah. And she has zero romantic attachment to exercise.
None at all. If given the choice between a strength training class and sitting in a Paris cafe with a notebook, she knows exactly which one she'd pick.
The cafe, obviously.
Oh, without a doubt. She even jokes that her friend Louise is the one who basically forces her to go to the strength class.
I love Louise. But the fascinating part is how she cognitively frames this routine. She completely rejects the traditional concept of fitness.
Right. She isn't trying to look 20 years younger, and she isn't training to run a marathon.
She views every single balance exercise, every squat, and every stretch as a direct investment in her future choices. She literally calls it future travel insurance.
Bypassing the traditional framing of fitness is a brilliant psychological hack.
It really is.
Because society places an immense, often toxic pressure on people to constantly look younger, framing the physical signs of aging as a personal failing.
Oh, 100%.
But by reframing a mundane strength class as travel insurance, Roberta completely bypasses all that emotional baggage and vanity. It becomes a purely rational, functional investment.
You aren't doing squats to impress anyone in the gym.
Right, you're doing squats so your legs can comfortably handle the Shanghai transit system 5 years from now.
Think about how much friction that removes from the process of taking care of yourself. I mean, it's like you're looking at a Tuesday morning balance exercise the exact same way you look at signing up for a travel rewards credit card.
That's a great analogy.
It's not a chore. It's a literal tool to unlock a tangible reward. And she applies this exact same insurance framework to basic healthcare maintenance, right?
She does. She advocates for becoming aggressively proactive, scheduling routine hearing assessments, eye exams, memory testing, skin checks.
Which nobody actually enjoys doing.
No, as she puts it, most of these appointments rank somewhere between doing taxes and cleaning out a dusty storage locker in terms of actual fun.
So true.
But connecting them to the bigger picture changes the calculus completely.
Right, like good hearing means you can still participate in a guided walking tour without feeling isolated.
And good vision means you can navigate an unfamiliar city at dusk with confidence. As she writes, the goal is not perfection. The goal is to avoid being blindsided.
But, preserving the physical body is only half the battle.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you secure the hardware, but fail to update the software, you will still completely sabotage your own experience.
This is such a critical point.
Yeah, Roberta introduces a concept involving people who try to travel exactly as they did in their 30s. Let's call it the ghost itinerary.
The ghost itinerary, it's a pervasive phenomenon. People build these exhausting, hyper-optimized
Oh,
schedules.
those spreadsheets.
Right, they book flights with impossibly tight connections to save time. They switch hotels every 2 days to maximize the number of cities they can see.
And they plan 14-hour days of sightseeing.
Exactly. And predictably, they end up feeling utterly overwhelmed, exhausted, and miserable.
It's the equivalent of trying to run a massive, highly demanding 2026 software program on a laptop manufactured in 2014.
That's exactly what it's like.
Like, the computer technically boots up, but the battery drains in 45 minutes, the cooling fan is screaming at maximum volume, and the system eventually crashes. It isn't a broken laptop. It's a fundamental mismatch between the system's current specifications and the demands being placed upon it. Or, to put it another way, it's like insisting on wearing your favorite pair of jeans from college.
Oh, that's a painful visual.
Right. Sure, you can technically squeeze into them, but you're going to be miserable the whole time. Why not just buy pants that actually fit the body you have right now?
And the tragic part is the cognitive dissonance that follows the ghost itinerary.
What do you mean?
Well, when the trip inevitably falls apart, these travelers don't step back and say, wow, this itinerary was poorly designed for my current energy levels. Instead, they internalize the failure.
Oh, I see.
They conclude, I guess I am simply no longer capable of travel. They mistake a logistical planning failure for a permanent personal failure.
But wait, doesn't accepting these limitations mean you're essentially conceding defeat to aging?
Not at all. And Roberta completely avoids this trap through self-awareness. She states flat out, I know that I am not the same traveler I was at 50. She requires more recovery time.
So she adapts.
Exactly. She fundamentally alters the parameters of her trips. Instead of squeezing 6 major attractions into a single day, she plans for 3.
Makes sense.
She prioritizes the central location of her hotel over saving $20 a night, because proximity saves vital energy. She pays a premium for direct flights. She explicitly builds rest days into the schedule.
And she rarely changes accommodations every night.
Huh.
But updating your self-identity like that, it requires mourning a past version of yourself, which is emotionally taxing.
It is. Many people subconsciously choose the physical exhaustion of a ghost itinerary because it allows them to avoid the emotional exhaustion of admitting they have changed.
Wow, that's deep.
Roberta actually draws on her decades of experience as a consultant and coach here. She argues that the most crucial question you must ask yourself is, what kind of trip actually fits the person I am today?
Which requires a brutal level of honesty about your current baseline.
It really does. From her coaching perspective, she points out that the primary challenge for modern travelers isn't a lack of information.
Right, we have plenty of that.
Yeah, we are drowning in travel blogs, algorithmic recommendations, infinite reviews. The real challenge is achieving clarity.
Clarity over information.
Exactly. It's sorting through all that external noise to figure out what realistically applies to your specific biology and energy levels. She regularly sees people postpone trips indefinitely because they assume they are too old or too frail.
When in reality,
They just need a slower itinerary. They need the clarity to separate what is truly impossible from what merely feels intimidating.
separating the impossible from the intimidating. I love that.
Yeah.
Because if you treat a slightly intimidating logistical challenge as an impossible physical barrier, you are artificially shrinking your own world long before your body actually forces you to.
And that distinction brings us to the broader societal dialogue around aging, which Roberta addresses near the end of her piece.
Right, because no matter how much future travel insurance we buy or how perfectly we calibrate our itineraries, the physical realities of time will eventually catch up to everyone.
Unavoidably.
And we are constantly bombarded by 2 completely unhelpful extremes when it comes to aging. I mean, we all know the tropes.
Oh, yeah.
On one hand, you have the toxic positivity of hustle culture. People insisting that age is just a number and you can do whatever you did at 30 if you just maintain a positive mindset.
Which completely ignores the basic laws of human biology.
Exactly. And on the other extreme, you have the narrative of quiet surrender.
Right, the assumption that growing older simply means an inevitable rapid decline.
Yeah, requiring you to immediately lower all expectations and accept a highly restricted life. Both of these frameworks are useless because both demand you ignore the nuanced reality of your own body.
The nuanced reality being that our bodies are changing and certain doors will eventually close, but we retain massive influence over the trajectory and speed of that process through our daily habits.
And this tension sparked a really fascinating discussion in the comments section of her Substack. showcasing the diverse realities of navigating this phase of life.
The comments were so insightful.
Yeah, a commenter named Daynad bluntly pointed out that simply staying mobile as we age is a full-time job.
It requires continuous, deliberate effort.
And then another commenter, Linda Jackson, captured the psychological grace required for this transition beautifully.
She really did.
She pointed out that adjusting your cadence is a deeply natural process. Why force yourself to do too much when you can extract just as much joy and meaning from doing less, but doing it with full presence?
Yeah, she noted that if you eventually reach a point where you prefer to stay in whatever you call home rather than hopping around the globe, that is perfectly fine.
You can still travel through literature, through art, and maintain a deeply rewarding intellectual life.
Absolutely.
So I guess my question for you is, if the ultimate goal isn't actually to rack up passport stamps until the day we die, or, to force ourselves on airplanes just to prove a point,
Right.
what is the core mission here? What are we actually ensuring?
Well, synthesizing Roberta's entire philosophy, the core mission is to create the optimal conditions to keep choosing adventure, continuous learning, and active questioning for as long as humanly possible.
Oh.
Whether that adventure involves navigating a complex new subway system in China at age 74, or whether it involves finding a completely new perspective while sitting quietly in your own living room reading a challenging book.
So it's about the mindset.
It is fundamentally about keeping your options open so that you retain the agency to choose your own constraints, rather than having them dictated to you by a body you neglected.
To bring this all together for you, the listener, think about how you are managing your own options right now. We started by examining how the quantifiable constraints of our younger years, paying the mortgage, hoarding vacation days, those inevitably vanish.
Only to be replaced by the unquantifiable constraints of physical ability.
Exactly. We unpack the psychological brilliance of rebranding your mundane exercise routines and health checkups, stripping away the vanity metrics and viewing them as highly functional future travel insurance, which completely bypasses our natural resistance to these chores.
And we also explored the self-sabotage of the ghost itinerary. The danger of running outdated travel software on your current hardware.
And the critical need for clarity to separate the truly impossible from the merely intimidating. Keeping your options open does not happen by accident.
No, it takes work.
We encourage you to run an audit on your own life this week. Are you making assumptions today about your physical fitness, your budget, your changing capabilities that are quietly shrinking your future world?
Because earlier, we hooked you by saying the secret to aging gracefully has everything to do with how you view a medium-sized suitcase.
Yeah, that suitcase isn't just luggage. It is the ultimate metric of your capacity to move through the world unburdened, unassisted, and on your own terms.
And preserving the physical ability to carry it requires a series of unglamorous decisions made today. Decisions that honestly won't make for exciting social media posts, but will construct the essential biomechanical foundation for your future independence.
We want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to explore on your own. We've spent this entire deep dive analyzing the physical world, navigating airports, recovering from long flights, walking across cobblestones.
Right.
But if our physical footprint inevitably shrinks as we age, regardless of how much travel insurance we accumulate, how can you start actively building an internal world of curiosity today?
A psychological landscape so rich, so expansive, and so meticulously tended that even if you eventually choose to never leave your own neighborhood again,
You never run out of fascinating places to explore.